Hey everyone! Welcome to our deep dive into the history of property rights in India. Today, we're talking about something super important in India, the evolution of a daughter's right to own property. For centuries, a daughter's right to own property was a contentious issue. For a long time, women in India weren't treated fairly when it came to getting family property. They were often sidelined and overlooked. Imagine being told you have less right to your family's things just because you're a girl. This was a harsh reality for many. That doesn't seem fair, right? The scales of justice were heavily tipped against women. Sadly, that's how it was for many people. Women were often left out of the inheritance loop. A long time ago, the laws said that sons were the important heirs. They were seen as the primary carriers of the family legacy. They got most of the family property. Daughters often got nothing. This was a norm that persisted for generations. It was like families thought women were just visiting, not really part of the family. They were expected to move on and not look back. They were expected to get married and join their husband's family. This was seen as their primary role. This made things very unequal. The disparity was glaring and deeply entrenched in societal norms. Women didn't have much power and had to rely on men. Their financial independence was severely restricted. It's 2025 and we're still dealing with problems from these old laws. The shadows of the past still linger. But good news, things are getting better. The fight for equality has seen significant progress. Many people, like women's rights activists, lawyers, and daughters themselves, fought hard for equal rights. Their efforts have not gone in vain. Finally, in 2005, the Indian government made a big change to the law. This was a landmark moment in the fight for gender equality. It's called the Hindu Succession Act. This act was a game changer for women's property rights. Let's see what it's all about. Stay tuned as we explore the details of this transformative law. 2005 was a big year for daughters' rights. It marked a significant shift in the way family property was distributed in India. The government changed the Hindu Succession Act, a law that had long dictated inheritance rules in Hindu families. The law about who gets what when someone dies was overhauled. This change was huge and long overdue. It said daughters have the same right to family property as sons, ensuring gender equality in inheritance. No more being treated differently. This was a monumental step towards ending gender discrimination in property rights. Before, daughters only got property if there were no sons. Can you believe that? It was an unfair practice that had persisted for generations. The 2005 change fixed that, making sure daughters were no longer left out. It said daughters are co-parceners, which means they have an equal share of family property from the day they're born. This was a revolutionary concept, giving daughters a rightful place in the family lineage and property from birth. This was a big win. It was celebrated as a landmark victory for women's rights in India. But there was a problem. The law, while progressive, had some ambiguities. The law wasn't very clear about property someone got before 2005. This led to a lot of confusion, and legal battles ensued as families and courts tried to interpret the new rules. This caused a lot of confusion and legal fights as people struggled to understand the implications of the amendment. This brings us to a very important court case, Prakash v. Phulavati, which sought to clarify these ambiguities. Get ready. Things are about to get tricky. In 2009, the Supreme Court of India looked at the case of Prakash v. Phulavati. This case was about a daughter who wanted her father's property. Her father had died back in 1997, the 2005 law. The big question was, did the 2005 law apply to older cases? Could a daughter inherit property even if her father died before the law changed? Everyone waited to hear what the Supreme Court would say. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court said the 2005 law would not apply to older cases. They stated that for a daughter to inherit the property, her father had to be alive on September 9, 2005, when the law was amended. This decision left many people very upset and disappointed. Many argued that this interpretation went against the very essence and purpose of the new law. They felt it was deeply unfair to daughters whose fathers had passed away before 2005. The Prakash v. Phulavati case became a significant example of the ongoing struggle for equal rights for women in India. However, the fight for justice and equality did not end there. Another landmark court case would soon emerge, changing the landscape of women's rights in India forever.